Hello and welcome back to more 2025-2026 state governments and officials. Today we look at the state of Utah. Now, it is nicknamed the Beehive State, the Mormon State, because such of a heavy presence of Mormons in the state, and Deseret, which was actually a name for the territory before. Yeah. Capital city, Salt Lake City, largest metro and urban area, Salt Lake City. It is the largest city. So, yeah, biggest city to remember in Utah, Salt Lake City. It is a landlocked state in the Mountain West subregion of the western U.S. and is one of the four corner states that share their borders together, along with Arizona, Colorado, and New Mexico. It also borders Wyoming to the northeast, Idaho to the north, and Nevada to the west. It has a population of just over 3 million, is the 13th largest state by area, but the 30th most populous. Putting it down their ways, making it the 11th least densely populated state. Urban development is mostly concentrated in two regions, the Wasatch Front in the north central part of the state, which includes the state capital of Salt Lake City, and is home to roughly 2/3 of the state's population, and Washington County in the southwest, which was approximately 180,000 residents. Most of the western half of Utah lies in the Great Basin. Yeah. But anyway, let's go ahead and switch over and take a look at the Constitution. It was created in 1895, ratified in 1896, so that might be the only one they've had because they haven't been around for a long time. Oh, crap. Nope. They've had 7 previous constitutions starting in 1849 as part of repeated attempts to become a state. Remember, the territory of at the far west was won after the Mexico-U.S. War in the mid 1840s. So yeah, as soon as 1849, they were like, "We want to be a state." 1850, the Utah Territory was officially created. And then, let's see. We've got another in 1890. 1895. So yeah. They originally were polygamous in Utah, meaning married to multiple spouses. Usually one man, multiple wives, but it can also be technically, I would assume, one wife, multiple husbands. But, yeah. But they renounced polygamy as part of their practice of the majority of the state, which was Mormons. Because originally it was made a Utah territory with a secular government. But Mormonism's still strong within the state itself, even nowadays, so. But with that, let's dig into their government a bit. They are Presidential Republic Federated State. A presidential strong president or single executive system is a form of government in which the head of government heads an executive branch that derives its authority and legitimacy from a source that is separate from the legislative branch. And federated state. Territorial and constitutional community forming part of a federation that does not have international sovereignty, since powers are divided between the other federated states and the federal government, unlike international sovereign states. So, yeah, it works a bit differently than other states. Because apparently the legislative branch does not have near the power to push back on your executive branch. So, yeah, interesting. But it still has an executive, legislative, and judicial branch laid forth by the Constitution. The executive powers of government are vested in the governor, the current one being Spencer Cox. Just talks about former governors. Your officers that are elected in the executive branch. Governor, Spencer Cox. Lieutenant Governor, Deidre Henderson. Attorney General, Sean Reyes. State Treasurer, Marlo Oaks. And State Auditor, John Dugall. So let's pop up here. Ba-da-ba-ba. There is your governor, Spencer Cox, on the right-hand side. Your lieutenant governor, Deidre Henderson. Attorney General, Derek Brown. Auditor, Tina M. Cannon. So these are different names than what was on Wikipedia. And Treasurer Marlo Oaks. Let me go back and see. Yeah, the Attorney General is no longer Sean Reyes. And Auditor is no longer John Dugall. Derek Brown became Attorney General and Tina Cannon Auditor. So, okay. With that, let's look at their cabinet for Governor Cox. Utah Department of Financial Institutions, Sean Barrett. Adjutant General of the Utah National Guard, Major General Daniel Boyack. Department of Transportation, Carlos Braceras. Department of Commerce, Margaret Buss. Department of Workforce Services, Casey Cameron. Department of Environmental Quality, Tim Davis. Department of Alcoholic Beverage, Erica Evans. Department of Planning and Budget, Sophia D. Caro. Department of Government Operations, Marvin Dodge. Department of Natural Resources, Joel Ferry. Department of Corrections, Jared Garcia. Department of Health and Human Services, Tracy Gruber. Department of Veterans and Military Affairs, Gary Harder. Department of Cultural and Community Engagement, Donna Law. Department of Public Safety, Bo Mason. Department Labor Commission, Jason Mullen or Moffin. I'd say Mullen. The Governor's Office for Economic Opportunity, Jefferson Moss. The Executive Director for Utah's Department of Agriculture and Food, Kelly Pearson. The Insurance Department, John Pike. The Commission on Criminal and Juvenile Justice, Tom Ross. The Board of Pardons and Parole, Blake Hills. And the State Tax Commission, John Ballantyne. Now, with that being done, let's look at the list of governors. I couldn't find the regular just governor of Utah like I've been able to get with the other states, but okay, whatever. List of governors, like I said, current governor Spencer Cox. The governor is the head of the government of Utah, commander-in-chief for its National Guard, as well as the power to approve or veto bills passed by the legislature and can convene the legislature on extraordinary occasions. See, Deseret was one of the nicknames. That's because it was the self-proclaimed state of Deseret, which was a precursor to the organization of the Utah Territory. While it was state of Deseret, your governor, Brigham Young. Utah Territory had 15 governors from its organization in 1850 until the formation of the state of Utah in 1896 that were appointed by the president. John W. Dawson having the shortest term of only 3 weeks, and Brigham Young, the first territorial governor, having the longest at 7 years. Since becoming an official state, they have had 18 governors. So we start out, your first governor. This is looking at the territories starting out. Brigham Young. And then, of course, he's one of the main leaders in Mormonism. And the university in Utah, Brigham Young University, is of course named after him. Religious leader, politician, second president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, aka Mormons, from 1847 until his death in 1877. He also served as the first governor of the Utah Territory from 1851 until his resignation in 1858. Then you get Alfred Cumming. Politician, serves as governor of the Utah Territory for about 3 years. So yeah. John W. Dawson, he was the one that lasted about 3 weeks. And he was replaced with Selwyn Harding, politician, lawyer, anti-slavery leader, and ardent abolitionist, originally in Indiana, would serve as governor of the Utah Territory and Chief Justice of the Colorado Supreme Court. So, from Indiana, served in political positions in Utah and Colorado. James Duane Doty, land speculator, politician, pioneer, second governor of the Wisconsin Territory, fifth governor of the Utah Territory. So yeah. And remember, back in the mid-1800s, early mid-1800s, there were still a lot of territories that weren't technically states. Charles Durkee is next. Politician, activist, Wisconsin pioneer. Was a senator for Wisconsin. And 2 terms in the House of Representatives. John Schaefer, politician, businessman, 7th governor of Utah. Territory, Utah. Vernon H. Bond, American politician. George Lemuel Woods, lawyer, judge, politician, Republican. And remember, this was shortly after the Civil War, 1870s. So at that point, remember, they were the anti-slavery party. So the country was going through Republican Reconstruction since the Civil War had been settled. Woods himself was 3rd governor of Oregon and was territorial governor of Utah, the 9th territorial governor. Samuel Beach Axtell, jurist, politician, was a Chief Justice of the New Mexico Territorial Supreme Court, territorial governor of Utah and New Mexico, and a 2-term congressman for California. So yeah, you've got so many of these early members being in several states, but again, like I said, a lot of them were just territories around that period. George W. Emery, 11th governor of the Utah Territory, and would be supervisor of the Internal Revenue for the Confederate States as appointed by Ulysses S. Grant. And he would become the Utah Territory governor after that. He would then go into the Utah legislature. He was followed by Eli Houston Murray, governor, city of Murray, Utah, named for him. Caleb Walton West would be next. Just says politician. Arthur Lloyd Thomas, governor of Utah Territory, and Caleb Walton West comes back to finish out the territory days. It becomes a state, and here's where we start getting the modern governors for Utah in the state period. Herbert Manning Wells, politician, banker, first governor as the state of Utah. So yeah. John Christopher Cutler, politician, second governor of the state. William Spry, American politician and third governor of the state of Utah, namesake of the William Spry Agriculture Building that houses the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food. So, that building is named after the third governor of the state of Utah. Then we have Simon Bamberger, German-American entrepreneur and politician, fourth governor of Utah. He was the only non-Mormon and the first Democrat. So yeah, interesting. All the others are Mormon. Charles R. Mabee. A politician, fifth governor. Last governor to serve only one term. George Dern, German-American politician, mining man, and businessman. Co-invented the Hope-Dern ore roasting process and was the United States Secretary of War in the 30s. And sixth governor of the state of Utah. Henry H. Blood, businessman, seventh governor of Utah. Herbert B. Mall, politician, educator, eighth governor of Utah. So yeah. J. Bracken Lee, politician. He was also mayor of Price, Utah, and had 3 terms as the mayor of Salt Lake City, Utah. So yeah. George Dewey Clyde, politician, 10th governor of Utah. Cal Rampton, and you get into some more modern ones. Scott M. Matheson, probably the last Democrat that was governor, because it's been very right-leaning, which at that point in time the Republicans had kind of taken over the idea of being the right-leaning party. So you get Norman H. Bangerter, Mike Leavitt, Olene Walker, John Huntsman Jr., and Gary Herbert, before getting in today's Spencer Cox. Now, let's take a look at that Utah State Legislature. It is a bicameral legislature, 2 bodies. The Senate and the House of Representatives. So apparently the Senate president is Stuart Adams, and that seems to indicate that the lieutenant governor does not take part in the Senate, and your House Speaker is Mike Schultz. Here you can see the build. 29 seats in the Senate. Only 6 of them are Democrat. One's from a party called the Forward Party. And then the other 22 are Republican. Leans very right-wing. The House of Representatives, 75 members. 14 Democrats to 61 Republicans. Bicameral body, blah, blah, blah. It meets in Salt Lake City in the state capitol. There are 29 Senate districts. each representing approximately 77,000 people, and the House's 75 districts, each representing approximately 29,800 people. The Senate districts overlap House districts, allowing two legislators for each constituency in Utah. Senators are elected to a 4-year term and representatives to a 2-year term. So yeah, and the Senate is staggered elections, one half every 2 years. To be a state senator or representative, you need to be a citizen of the U.S., at least 25 years of age, a qualified voter in the district from which you are elected, and be a resident of the state of Utah for 3 years and a resident of the district in which elected for 6 months. No limitations on the number of terms. They have a general session for 45 days, convening on the 4th Monday in January. As we said, the governor can call them into special session. So yeah, that's a look at the legislature. Lastly, let's look at their judicial system. Okay. The courts of Utah. At the top is the Utah Supreme Court. A step under that is the Utah Court of Appeals. And then you have the other 4 kind of equal courts, but they handle different things. The Utah District Courts, which is more likely where your general jurisdiction is, and the Utah Business and Chancery Court, the Utah Juvenile Courts, and the Utah Justice Courts. Now, the Utah Supreme Court, established in 1894 when it became a state, 7 members of the Utah Supreme Court, meaning 1 Chief Justice and 6 associates. They take office with the governor appointing them and getting confirmed by the legislature. And then they can be elected to retain their seat. So yeah. Your current justices are the Chief Justice, Matthew B. Durant, and the other associate justices, Paige Peterson, Diana Hagan, Jill Pullman, John Nelson, and actually there are 2 vacant seats, it says. Interesting. They might have been filled, because a lot of the time Wikipedia is slow on some stuff, because they have to get information given to them by the public. They aren't just up to date. So, yeah. We go down one step. The Court of Appeals, intermediate level appellate court for the state, that began operations only in 1987, so it's not that old. It has jurisdiction complementary to the Utah Supreme Court and hears all appeals from juvenile and district courts except those from the small claims department of a district court. It also determines appeals from district court involving domestic relations cases, including divorce, annulment, division of property. Utah is an equitable distribution state. Child custody, child support, visitation, adoption, and paternity, and some criminal matters, those that are not first-degree felonies or capital cases. So those, the serious first-degree felonies, capital cases, they go straight to the Supreme Court. So yeah. Your current presiding judge over the Court of Appeals, Michelle Christensen, with associate judges Gregory K. Orm, David N. Mortensen, Ryan A. M. Harris, Ryan D. Tinney, John Luffy, and Amy Oliver. I didn't see anything about... Okay, 6-year renewable terms, but more than likely appointed to the seats. I get the feeling, based on just the Supreme Court alone, if it's any indication. Utah Business and Chancery Court. Ooh, and it's a new setup. 2023. The Utah legislature unanimously passed statutory amendments creating a statewide business court, the Utah Business and Chancery Court. And the governor signed it into law, and it just became operational in 2024. So, interesting. It was late 2024 when it became operational. Limited statewide jurisdiction concurrent to Utah's district courts per Utah Code. Section 78A-5A-102. So, yeah. You must have a minimum amount of controversy of $300,000 or seek equitable relief to take the case to the Business and Chancery Court. Provides for distinct judges and court administrators. But even though it's in Salt Lake City, it can carry out its functions in any part of the state. But yeah, that's all it's really got on it. And with that, that's been a look at the state of Utah. But we'll go ahead and end the video there. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tries to tell you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. And don't let them use stupid sources like a website blog or these junk sources, essentially. But thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.